Hello, everybody. This is B. McCoy. Um, yeah, I lost my camera, so you may just start looking at me through webcam. Some of y'all are used to this because you're on webcam all the time. But anyway, so I want to talk about real quick because with the Eddie Long thing, like I saw a lot of comments online on different sites and everything about how um, Eddie Long is, a bad person and all this. Let me be honest. I know Eddie Long did wrong and everything. We believe he did wrong and all that stuff. But what happens when your pastor does something wrong? What happens when your pastor falls? Um, well, I've experienced this personally because my pastor went through a situation, nothing like Eddie Long, but it was a bad situation. And that's because a lot of people that were my friends and everything, I ended up cutting them off because they wanted to have smart mouth. You can't talk smart about people's pastors because that's your spiritual father. So you wouldn't expect people that's not in the church to understand. So that's how I can kind of understand the people at New Birth supporting their pastor. But as long as you're not stupid, you have to discern, somebody's spirit and everything and all that type of stuff. But what happens when your pastor falls? My pastor, he wrote a book about it, so I can talk about it now. He went to jail for it was some bull. It was some bull, and he went to jail. And I remember it was this guy in school. He was my friend and everything, but he started talking about my pastor, and I haven't talked to him since the day he said something about my pastor. He even attended my church at the church I went to, and I just stopped talking to him because he disrespected my pastor. What do you do when your pastor falls? Do you support him and stay, or do you run and go to another church? And many times it seems as if people, when things happen in churches, people tend to get scared and be afraid about, well, they are afraid about what people are going to say about them. Because I remember my church, when everything started happening, people, I was doing a lot of stuff with my church's name behind it. So everybody knew I went to that church. Everybody knew that I talked about that church. Everybody knew I was active in that church. I was at the church 3 times a week, maybe 4 times sometimes. Sunday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then if it was something else on Thursday or something, I would be up there. But you have people like that that's real active in that church, and their pastor is a person that's very important to them. I can put myself in that situation because that was during the time when I really needed guidance. When you're in college, you need guidance, and I'm like, honestly, if my pastor didn't say some of the stuff that he said, I probably wouldn't have finished school. Like that was how drastic some of the stuff I was going through at the time. So when you have people that important in your life going through stuff and dealing with stuff and falling, what do you do? How do you react to that? Do you go to another church, or do you stay behind, the person that you call your spiritual father, other than God, Jesus Christ? What do you do? Do you run or do you stay? But, the main thing that I ask people to do, is to pray about it. Don't just leave. That's one of the biggest problems in our churches. Every time something happens, they just run off. Now, I understand the thing with Eddie Long thing. You may not feel comfortable, if you're really against, sexual predators or different stuff like that. You may not want to stay at the church. But at the same point, do you leave everything that you've helped, to build? And the biggest question is this. This is the biggest question of everything, is the word that my pastor has taught me, is all of that word void? Because I no longer consider this man to be upright, and to be someone that I would like to follow other than Christ, who I would like to, who I look up to, on earth. Is this a person that I want to keep, thinking about the word that they spoke over my life? Do I want to keep, looking over the notes that I wrote from the sermons? How do you deal with that when you have a pastor that's done so much and has been so important in your life? How do you deal with a pastor that falls, and they're that important in your life? That's something to think about. And I think many of us don't even think about that. We just, oh, well, he did this, and this. Oh, the members are crazy. But think about all the stuff, the important stuff that the pastors have done. And a lot of people don't agree with me, but I don't care. You have the right to your opinion. I believe that you're supposed to support your pastor. Now, if it's a moral issue, you have to deal with that. But sometimes, like if your pastor is just taking your money and just doing stupid stuff with it, just taking your money, taking your money. Like there's a pastor here in Houston that has been telling the members that he's gonna build another church and do all this stuff. So he's been getting money to make them give. He's been asking them to just give money, and then the church just shut down. Like on a Sunday, they just decide to shut down. Like it's crazy. Like he did that, and I sang at his church, and I went there, and I shouted at his church, and everything. But he took their money. You can't follow somebody like that. In my head, you can't follow somebody who knew exactly what they were doing. Now, but the Eddie Long thing, it's like a moral issue. It's a separate moral. It's this thing where, he was like, okay, well, I like boys, but I don't know how to deal with it. It was just this thing in his head. So I'm just going to deal with these boys that I get on the side and do these things with, and just do whatever else, and still go to church. Like that's what he was thinking. That's what I think that he was thinking. If you know what I mean. He was like, okay, I'm going to get these boys and we're going to have fun, in another state, in another country, and nobody's going to know what's going on and everything, Yeah, that's what he did. But you have to deal with the moral issue while also understanding that the pastor is a man and he's going to fall. Man will fall. Man will fall. How do you deal with that? How do you deal with your pastor falling? That's what I want to ask everybody, because I dealt with it, and I'm still behind my pastor. Even if I can disagree with things and say, okay, well, spiritually we don't line up anymore with certain things. We don't line up with the word. I maybe think something different about the word than my pastor does. That's completely different to me than somebody is saying, okay, well, my pastor did something wrong, and now I'm about to go join another church, or now I'm going to talk about him on Facebook and on MySpace and on TV and talk about him negatively. Like the whole Eddie Long thing. I think I would still be at that church and thinking about what I'm going to do. You know what I'm saying? Because you don't act arrogant as he's acted the past few weeks over the, everything that's going on. Trying to act like nothing's going on. Boy, come on now, man. Come on, Bishop. All right. But anyway, that's...
Normally, I might say something, but I just want to hear the music play. Is that all right?
May the force be with you.